All right. Well, Ian, welcome to this week's edition of the Opportunity Hour. So let's start off with maybe giving a quick elevator pitch on what Zing is, and we'll go from there.
Hey Tyler, thanks for having me on. So Zing is a drone delivery platform that enables pilots to make deliveries for compensation using the same drones that they already own and know how to fly. So say when you're just starting out flying drones, you're probably doing things like real estate photography. And when you start doing those kinds of jobs, you're generally going to be getting a DJI drone. They're the market dominator by far right now. They have over 90% of the market. And their most common drones, the DJI Mavic and Phantom, are the ones most commonly being used right now. And we make drone delivery kits, which are compatible with those same drones that are being used by the vast majority of pilots right now. Sort of our unique insight is that under the current Part 107 regulations, drone delivery is actually allowed as long as you complete it within the current framework of the regulations.
Okay. So you essentially kind of have two customers in theory. I mean, you've got the drone operator that obviously performs the delivery itself, but then you have the customer, and I guess maybe two customers, because you have the end customer who orders the product, and then the company that has the product to deliver. You're kind of the middleman, I guess. Um, how are you tackling those hurdles, and what's the business model look like there?
Yeah, so the business model, it has gotten quite complex, but we're really trying to simplify it down. I mean, initially we were looking at this business model where we're a three-sided marketplace, where essentially we have the customer, we have the restaurant, and then we have the pilot. And trying to figure out where we fit in between those three has been a real challenge for us. Currently, what we're doing is we're selling the drone delivery kits to the pilots themselves, and that's been our main revenue source. We eventually, what we would like to be is a platform between the three that's enabling those transactions. So every delivery that comes through, say the customer would pay for it, sort of like an Uber Eats type model, and then a percentage would go to us as the platform. And we would provide the drone pilots with these kits and everything for free, as long as they make a certain number of deliveries a month with us. So we're still nailing down exactly what our business model is going to be, but as of right now, it's more of like a direct product sales type of model.
It looks like as of May, you were in 21 markets, focusing on food and over-the-counter drug delivery. And it sounds like that was kind of like uh, a test
Yeah,
bed per se. How did that go? What kind of what did you learn from that?
yeah. So we learned a lot from that. I mean, that was really exciting. So right after COVID hit, the FAA kind of announced, like, before it wasn't very mainstream that Part 107 deliveries were allowed, but after it hit, the FAA announced like you can deliver prescriptions, you can deliver even blood, and you can deliver COVID test kits through Part 107. So we really dove on that opportunity. We sent out an email to a list of about 3,000 pilots that we have, and we asked them if they would be willing to help with this like beta type delivery program. And we had 300 respondents. We picked our favorite 25 or so, and from the top 20 of those, the ones who were the most responsive and everything, we put them all into a Slack channel together, and we sort of collaborated on ideas for each of their areas. And we basically sent out all of their kits for free. So we sent out 20 drone delivery kits all across the United States. We had spots in California, we had spots in New York, just everywhere. It was a like an even disbursement all around the United States. And we just we found out like where the real challenges are with like our drone delivery kits, how much weight we can realistically carry, and just things like that. And we found the use cases that we really liked. Um, and it wasn't as big of a hit as we would have liked. Like we weren't getting deliveries in every day and things like that because with the multi-sided marketplace kind of model, you have to have the supply as well as the demand. So we had the supply of 20 pilots who are ready to make deliveries, but we couldn't keep up with the demand side. So that's one of the things that we're going to focus on next is um, matching that demand with the supply and creating that market liquidity so that we can have orders coming in and pilots available to take those orders at the same time.
So that's a lot to unwrap right there. At the lowest level, what was the weight that you were comfortable with from that experience?
Yeah, so if we were using a DJI Mavic, the DJI Mavic is a little foldable type drone that is really meant to be very portable. The Mavic itself weighs about maybe 4 or 5 pounds, and the maximum possible payload on it, uh, I would say would be about 1 pound to 1 pound and a quarter. And then you've got a DJI Phantom, which is more of like a solid structure type drone. It doesn't really fold up. That thing can carry probably around 2 pounds. So we wanted to deliver food, but we started running into major hurdles with that limitation because if you get a single drink on there, then that starts really throwing. Um, the weight really starts picking up. So yeah, like pharmaceutical items, things like that, over the counter medications, we identified those as being the key things that we can deliver.
Um, you also mentioned the the three-pronged issues you're dealing with. A lot of startups I've noticed, mine included, has the proverbial chicken and the egg problem. But you've got a chicken, an egg, and I don't even know what that third leg is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it sounds like that's one of your biggest hurdles right now is figuring out how to make all that work out, because without one, you don't have the other two, and vice versa. Um,
very true. We're trying to create that interest on all three sides. And the founder of Postmates, they have a very similar type of three-sided marketplace model. And what he said that they did was focus on a two-sided marketplace first. Like, so we would just be focusing on getting those drone pilots and the customers, whereas Postmates was just getting the drivers and the customers. And they were basically saying, like, as long as we can create that demand of the drivers and the customers, then the restaurants will start catching on and actually reaching out to us. So that's how they went about it, and we're thinking about going along that same sort of route.
it almost seems like the drone operator is a commodity in a sense. And you can find drone operators all over the place. Obviously, you were being selective. You wanted a certain, the one that was responsive to you, and the drones you vetted. Um,
Yeah,
Essentially finding whether it's a pharmacy, and they can almost probably do some of your marketing for you for the people who have the prescriptions or need the tests or whatever. Um, it almost seems like you could focus in on a specific niche like that, uh, using their customer base, and then expand based on that. But um,
yeah, like that's something we explored was getting a restaurant or a pharmacy because they're the ones who already have all the customers calling in, and they can say, hey, do you guys want this delivered by a drone, and something like that. Whereas if we're out trying to advertise on Facebook and Instagram, we don't even know if these guys are in like the exact restaurants that we want to
right.
have them order from. So yeah, I agree that having the businesses is another key way that we could go.
Um, my next question or comment's probably going to lead down some rabbit hole. and a lot of it probably will be dictated on BLOS or beyond line of sight capabilities and regulations. I'm not real sure what those are. I used to work at UPS in college, to include, driving and whatnot. And the majority of the packages, especially like the next day air, second day air, a a lot of that's envelopes, and a lot of it is, uh, population dense. A lot of it's in the cities or towns, um, where you could almost have, someone with a drone almost right along with the driver, because they're like, I don't remember the times, but they have to be delivered by certain times throughout the day. And these drivers go out of their way. They deliver these packages first, and then they start on their normal route. And it can take them, 30 minutes from their last air package to their first normal delivery of the day. Um, and you know, it might almost make sense to where you swing into UPS on a Wednesday morning and pick up a handful of their envelopes, and you go post up uh, kind of in the center of where 8 packages need to be delivered, and you just start dropping them off. I don't know if there's any feasibility to that, but that's what kind of came to my head in that sense.
Well, I mean, that is a really good idea. And that's one of those use cases, like you mentioned, is going to be opened up by Beyond Visual Line of Sight. Now, that's, I guess that kind of brings us to like the Part 135 air carrier certificate.
Okay.
Um, because basically, right now, under Part 107, you can only fly a drone within visual line of sight. And that is the main inhibitor of everything drone delivery right now.
Okay.
Um, and so like if I were to try and stand in the middle of just like a neighborhood and I couldn't see over a house's roof and I want to deliver it to maybe like a half a mile away, I'm still extremely limited because unless I'm up in a tower or something, that VLOS restriction just it it keeps you within the confinement of probably a quarter mile area. Now there are use cases where it is possible to perform VLOS deliveries, and that's where at Zing we've kind of tried to identify all those use cases. So things like delivering over a river, like say you've got a UPS truck that has to drive 30 miles down the Mississippi River, go over a bridge, and then drive another 30 miles back up the Mississippi River.
Yep.
We've seen places like that where there's it makes a lot more sense to just make the 2-minute delivery by drone instead of driving the hour or 2 hours that it could possibly take to get around that river. And so we've actually identified places in Florida that are like that. There's a seafood restaurant in St. Petersburg where they have to basically, in order to get a quarter mile span across the river, they have to drive over a drawbridge, go through a $2 toll, and then it still takes 15 minutes if all of that is clear. So places like that is where VLOS delivery is currently possible. But like what you're saying with those use cases that are coming up, I mean, I've seen some videos of like with UPS with some delivery drones on top of the truck and it gets deployed off the truck and things like that, which is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, once you have that Part 135 air carrier certificate, that enables you to perform BVLOS deliveries, it enables you to fly over people, and it enables you to fly at night. So once you have that, you're golden in terms of what you can do. You're basically unlimited. There's a few different types of Part 135 air carrier certificates, which limit the number of pilots you can have. But as long as you're performing an operation with a air carrier certificate, you can perform those long range flights that are going to enable everything.
Are the drones that your, I don't know what you call them, your partners, the drone operators, are they capable of um, making those deliveries under those Part 135 regs, or is the technology still lagging there?
So I believe that the technology is there if you want to do deliveries around a 2 mile range.
Okay.
However, with the regulations though, DJI is a Chinese company and they manufacture their drones out of China. So that brings with it a set of limitations on the regulatory front in a very similar way to, I mean, it's another limitation that we have to face. Because in order to get a Part 135 air carrier certificate, you must also have a type certificated aircraft. And in order to get type certificated, the manufacturer has to go into the FAA and complete that whole process. And that's why you're seeing a lot of drone delivery companies utilizing custom drones. However, the FAA has stated that they're not going to rule out DJI and they may leave it open as a possibility. And if that does happen, then I mean, we would be in a really good situation. However, we can utilize custom, build something custom if we need to.
Um, would you consider the drone delivery market it seems like the drone startup market is relatively saturated. And I say that tongue in cheek because it's brand new, right? I don't know if you have a lot of competition doing specifically what you're doing. I guess where I'm going at is it almost seems like you're at the cutting edge. Your idea is brilliant. Are you aiming for acquisition by like an Amazon or like a UPS, or are you just trying to validate the marketplace um, and maybe outsource to them type thing?
Um, so I mean, we're building the technology that's required for DJI drones to make autonomous deliveries very simply. Like all you need is a mobile app, our Zing Pilot app, and we have built-in machine learning and artificial intelligence technology that automates the entire thing. And I'm sure that would be of interest to a company like Amazon or anyone else working on delivery right now. But I mean, we're not really focused on that component right now. We're just trying to, yeah, like test out this idea, see if see if we can create this Uber Eats type platform and scale it to a point where we become viable competition to those guys.
Sure.
That's where we want to get. But I mean, that's we're still exploring different business models, as we said before,
Yep.
like a franchise type model where we would enable these drone pilots to make deliveries via their own sort of business. That's one route we are considering. Um, but yeah, I mean, we would really like to just create this platform, just put it out there, allow drone pilots, everyday drone pilots, to start flying with us, and yes, just see where it takes us. We have gotten interest globally to use this app and use these drone delivery kits. Uh, but I mean, yeah, as of right now, it's just like and in terms of competition, like the competition right now for Part 107 deliveries before it was like nil. There was nobody out there doing Part 107 deliveries. Now during COVID, there's a few different companies who are trying to do it. You have Drone Up, who's actually gone to a few different Walmart locations, and they're delivering COVID test kits using
Oh,
DJI Inspire drones. Um, so there is starting to be a little bit of competition, but the beautiful thing about it is that nobody can get past the regulatory hurdle until that floodgate has been opened. So everybody's on a level playing field right now, and that's what's exciting about it.
and you mentioned earlier the Zing software, and I'd like to talk about you specifically a little bit, but it looks like you've created software to manage this process. Is that correct? Do you kind of want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so our Zing Pilot app, we have two applications. Well, one is for the users to put in orders, but the one where all of our tech is in is this Zing Pilot application. It 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 like plugs into DJI drones, enables you to control them fully autonomously. So the way we wanted to make it was that a user would be able to tap a location on the map, or an order would come in and we'd load in that location. And basically, the drone would take off, fly to that location, drop off the package, and fly straight back in the most efficient route possible. We partnered with AirMap. They're a UAS service supplier, and they provide airspace awareness information. If you ever fly a drone and you're trying to get into like controlled airspace or anything like that, and you want to do what's called a LANC, or low altitude authorization notification capability, it's a mouthful request. Basically, you have to, in order to fly within 5 miles of that airport, you got to make that request. And AirMap is one of the most popular, if not the most popular apps to do that. So we've integrated all of their technology through their API into our application, and we're allowing users to easily get those airspace authorizations through us. We also use computer vision with our custom Zing landing pad to detect and center the drone over that landing pad. If there's like a fixed location on another side of a river or something like that, they'll always drop off the package precisely. Um, so those are some of the main components of that application. But in the future, once Part 135 is out, and some things that are coming up real soon, like remote ID, and we have the location of all the other drones in the airspace, we'll be able to do things like deconflict with those other drones.
Would you say that that software piece is your value proposition?
Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that since we can provide this software to all of those pilots, I would say that just enabling pilots with this software is our value proposition, because otherwise there's nobody else out there that really enables pilots themselves to start making deliveries. We're trying to be the enabler of the drone delivery pilots, of standard Part 107 pilots, just to allow them to start making deliveries for compensation. Because although it's allowed under Part 107, no drone pilot has a platform to do it.
When I first started digging through your social media, I love your logo. That's awesome. If we have time, I'd like to talk about where that came from, because I just think it's
Well,
great.
thank you.
I really like the landing pad. And I always wonder, like, how are, thinking years ago when they're talking about pizza delivery, like, how are they going to figure out where to leave the pizza, blah, blah. Well, it makes sense now, right? And this might already be part of what you're doing, but it seems like within that Z on the logo, you could almost throw in a QR code that the drone can pick up. Like, if my neighbor and I both are getting pizza from the same place at the same time, I definitely don't want my neighbor getting my pizza, right? Like, I like my pizza the way I like my pizza, and vice versa. So I don't know. It almost seems like with your software, like, that value prop, you could almost outsource and sell that software in that landing pad to anybody, and it's all branded. And if they want to, if some powerful drone comes out that can carry 50 pounds, they have to use your software. You've already got the infrastructure there. Now they're paying you mass amounts of money to license that and deliver it. But I don't know if
Well,
that's where you're going or not, but something that popped into my head when I saw that Zing landing pad, I'm like, that's ingenious. And like I said, the design's awesome. So
well, I love all the ideas. It's opening my mind up to some possibilities. But yeah, we call that software our Zing Exact Landing software.
Okay.
Instead of EXACT, it's just XACT. We've been thinking about licensing it out to some companies. Nobody else really has accurate machine learning and computer vision software for landing. Nothing that's extremely accurate. We've actually had companies reach out to us who have things like charging hubs for drones, and in order for the drone to actually charge, it has to land with literally centimeter level precision on that landing pad. We've done a little bit of work with a smart mailbox company called Valkyrie. They create a mailbox that's really cool. It's about 9 feet high, and the drone drops off the package on top, and the package goes into like a receptacle, and people can walk up in like a neighborhood type community, open up one of the receptacles, or they use like their phone for an RFID code, and just open up the receptacle and take their package.
Yep.
And so we've been trying to integrate with that a little bit. But yeah, that is definitely one of our competitive differentiators right now, is that exact landing software.
You by nature or trade or education, whatever you want to call it, you're a developer. It
Yes.
looks like Florida State alum,
Yes.
minor in philosophy, got your bachelor's in computer science, and you're currently working on your master's in entrepreneurship. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
It almost seems like you're getting your master's in entrepreneurship at Zing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I guess I'm doing like Zing is kind of my experiential learning, whereas I wanted to get like I decided to do that entrepreneurship masters during, like, now that COVID's out and everybody's sort of staying at home. I needed something to do, so
Yep.
I this is the first year they're offering it, and I decided to go with it.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, the computer science, I throughout my entire undergrad, and in high school, I became obsessed with like developing apps, doing iPhone apps, and I learned Python and everything like that. And basically, I got really into like the tech startup kind of scene, and I would work with local Tallahassee startups and help build apps for them. I would do cutting edge stuff, like I was doing a lot of augmented reality, and I started working with drones through a guy I was working with, a really innovative guy. He was doing like um, it was like a real estate sort of like a two-sided marketplace where real estate photography drone operators, they'd be able to get connected with realtors. So that's where I got introduced to the DJI Mavic. And when I took that thing out of the box and saw how good it could fly, like 3 miles, and just the crisp 4K view, that's when my mind opened up to the possibilities.
And when was that time frame?
So that was probably beginning of 2018 was when I got the drone, and in June of 2018 is when I first founded the company.
Awesome. You weren't messing around.
No, no, because I was always looking for that idea, like the one that I just couldn't stop thinking about, because I would really often I would have ideas and they'd last for maybe a couple days where I'd be really hyped about them. But this one, the more I looked into it, the bigger the opportunity got.
Yep. I would definitely agree with that assessment. At the time, you were a co-founder of Atmo Technologies, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. And so Atmo, that was a augmented reality application that would allow you to see how busy all the places are around you in real time. So we use GPS in combination with AR, and Tallahassee's got a really big nightlife. So you'd see how busy all of the nightclubs are around you in real time, and bars. And the problem with that is with a crowdsourced, is that the right word? I think it's crowdsourced application where you have the chicken and egg problem. So we would actually get the busyness data from the um, users. interacting with a chat bot. So people would have to actually enter how busy the place was. So if we didn't have a lot of users, then we wouldn't have good data and back and forth.
Could you um could you utilize an API from Google or Facebook or Instagram in that scenario, um, for proximity purposes in that, and just, aggregate the data that way and export it into your UI UX?
That would be a good idea. However, Google had that data at the time. Google was the main one with that busyness type data,
Yep.
and they had it locked down. Like although you could access it via the web and do some kind of scraping on it, it specifically said in their terms, just do not do not
Okay.
steal this data.
Gotcha. Yeah, because like you said, and we're not talking about Atmo, but that is exactly what I always want to know. Like, how busy is the bar I'm about to go to? Because sometimes I want it to be dead, and sometimes I want it to be busy, depending on what my motivation is for the day.
Yeah,
And Google does a great job of showing the trend items. Usually busy, usually not very busy. Well, I don't care what it usually is. I want to know what it is right now. So,
yeah, yeah.
but that's the point of bringing that up was, co-founder in that company. Looks like you made an almost immediate transition to Zing. Are you still involved with Atmo, or are you focusing all your attention on Zing, or what's your relationship with that now?
Yeah, so I've sort of diverted from that. I'm focusing all of my attention on Zing now, and sort of in between there, I had the chance to work at Lolio. It's a company that does mobile applications for law enforcement, and I was actually really lucky because they were actually looking to create something with drones that law enforcement would be able to use. And I was actually able to create a application from scratch there, an iPhone application that enables law enforcement to live stream drone imagery in real time, like sub 2 second latency. And yeah, they would be able to use any kind of DJI drone. Like the big ones they use right now are the Matrice 210. That thing has like a really nice thermal camera and it has a really awesome zoom camera on it. And then now they're using like the Matrice 300, which has crazy 120x zoom. But mainly they're using things like the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual, which has like a thermal and visual combo camera, which is really cool. So I was able to really experience, they're about a 30-person team. So I was able to get in there and experience what it's like to manage that uh, type of size team and see kind of the applications they use to manage that team and just use that as an experience to help and grow Zing. And now I'm still working with them in a contracting sort of fashion, but I would, that experience I think was extremely valuable.
You're the developer with Zing, which I'm assuming, outside of biz dev, is probably the most expensive part of the process. So you're probably um, able to offset a lot of that cost through sweat equity. Um, what
Yeah.
is your what is your what does your team look like, or is it just you? And I can speak from experience. Startups are not cheap or easy. Um,
Mhm.
how are you addressing those struggles early on in the startup journey?
Yeah, so that's where I got real lucky. One of the main challenges with a tech startup is the cost of development. And since I was able to, like you said, put in that sweat equity and build like the minimum viable product myself, I was real lucky. But basically, building that minimum viable product sort of brought the current team as it is together now. So my first co-founder, Oward, he's the head of engineering. He's actually he does a lot of R&D work with drones. And he saw one of the 3D boxes that I created, and this is the first thing that I really spent some big money on, is to get this 3D box created that could be 3D printed, and it was like a basket that would hang on to the bottom of the drone. And so I spent, maybe it was about like 2 months working with a freelancer and poured a few grand into it at least. And then Oward messages me on, sends me an email, and he says, "Hey man, I just created this box in under an hour, and I just 3D printed it." I was like, "Oh, this, should I be mad about this or?" And so I sent him another message, and I'm like, "Do you want to work with me?" And so
That's
that's
the
how
best way to do it, man. Absolutely.
so that's how we got linked up. And then I met another co-founder, Lauren. She was the head of marketing. She does all of our social media stuff. I met her in St. Petersburg. And then another one of my co-founders, Sam, I do like software development tutorials on YouTube. And he reached out asking about one of those tutorials. And he's actually lives up in Wisconsin. And we've just been like, we had been chatting on Zoom and stuff, working on software. And we were able to, I asked him to join the team, and now he's one of the main people who worked on that Zing exact landing software and got it all figured out. So that was really awesome to bring him on the team. And recently, one of the pilots from that 20 pilot program we did, he's joined on as well as the head of flight operations. He's only 17, but in about 1 month, he's going to be a certified flight instructor. And really glad to have him on his team. And they always say, like, surround yourself with people smarter than yourself, and that's what I feel like I'm doing right now.
Good for you, man. Good for you. You again, I don't want to get too off the beaten path from Zing, but you mentioned you do a software tutorial on YouTube.
Yeah.
What is that? How could someone search you there?
Just look up my name, Ian Annase. It's Annase. I do a lot of YouTube tutorials, and I also have a Udemy channel where I teach Python. Somehow that Python course blew up, and now I have over 100,000 students. It's a free course though, so don't. I wish it wasn't, but
Yeah.
a lot of those Udemy students are not willing to pay $9.99, so gotta make it free.
So, and the reason that I even went down this path is the whole reason I started the Opportunity Hour and the Sky Pirates in general is my peers and I are aviators. A lot of them are commercial airline pilots, and with COVID, there's the constant fear of furlough. Pilots in general, especially once they get to the legacy carriers like United and Delta, they fly, say, 14, 15 days a month, and they're making ridiculous amounts of money. So pilots are typically blessed to have both time and money, which I can't think of too many career fields where that's the case. You're either, really busy and scraping by, or you have, a lot of, whatever. So I'm an opportunist. Like, there's always opportunity, even in COVID when things look dark and down. Which is why I wanted to have you on, was for the drone aspect of it. It's a parallel industry. A lot of pilots have drones. And it's why I had Bobby on too. There's an opportunity to, take advantage of that gig economy and make some money on the side, get involved with the cutting edge industry, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a lot of opportunity for, people to make money in web development. And the fact that you're offering that course can be at least a gateway in to get started down that journey. So that's kind of why I brought that up and went there. But
Certainly a lot of parallels. A lot of like with the gig economy especially. I see you're saying like you can do these jobs, although not like they may not be like long jobs, or they're like contract type jobs. I mean, well, I guess where I'm going with this is like the gig economy is the future. Like
sure,
you've got these Uber drivers, you've got all kinds of gig workers, and the demand for work is always there. If you open up the Uber app, you're basically guaranteed to have rides coming in. And that's kind of what we're trying to create here with Zing, is the ability for drone pilots to just open up an app and have that guarantee, like, hey, we're gonna, if we want to fly with Zing, then no matter what, we're gonna get like a job here and there uh, to fly, because there's that demand on the other side. And of course, that's the challenge though, is creating that liquidity where you're able to give pilots a guarantee that, hey, if we want to work flexibly and we want to work on our own time, we can fly with Zing and we'll be able to do that. And there are a few other drone applications out there that have created this sort of gig structure, and I've heard it works pretty well. Like, and Bobby Quinn with Raven Spatial, he's also working on a very similar gig type of structure,
yep.
and a lot of businesses out there are doing this. So I think it has a very bright future.
I think a lot of people are learning during COVID, because they're having to resort to those, the Uber Eats driver, the Uber driver, the Amazon delivery, that working for yourself presents an a completely different amount of freedom. Um,
Yeah,
you know, make your own schedule, take the kids to school when you want, and then go do, whatever. Um, and the drone side of it's a lot of fun.
yeah,
Um,
and that's sort of something else, is like even though you have that freedom, like a lot of these gig economy jobs, they don't pay that great, like especially with depreciation of like the assets that you use for
sure.
the
Yep.
jobs, and like the fuel involved and everything like that. So with Zing, our goal is to create something that's worthwhile, because drones can make fast deliveries. Like if you can have that drone go out there and come back within like a 7 or 8 minute span and swap out that battery and get ready to do a new delivery, and we can pay you a fixed cost, say $10 or $15 per delivery, you could make $60 an hour if the demand was there. And that, I feel like that's different from Uber, because people aren't willing to pay, they're willing to pay a certain amount for a delivery, but your Uber driver, they're limited by traffic and everything.
Yep.
But if you can make that same fixed amount at a faster rate, I mean, with a drone, and that could be really good. And the investment involved with a drone, say like only 1,000 or 2,000 bucks for the drone itself, compared to the 20 grand, 30 grand you could spend on a car.
Yep.
And then if you want to get up into like the Uber Black level even more, I mean, I'd say the investment to get involved with something like drone delivery or drone photography is so much less and less risky than driving.
Well, and in that sense too, if you get some savvy drone operator, you could almost, depending on the market they're in, they could almost have 2 or 3 drones operating at once from a central location. You get one heading east, one heading west, one heading south, dropping off a package, and you're just, rotating them out, assuming the demand's there for whatever product they're delivering. But
Yeah, yeah. And I just gotta say one thing about that is, have you heard about the type certification rule that just came out for drones?
I have not.
So there's this wasn't public information until about maybe a few days ago or last week, but the 10 companies who are pursuing a type certification to do drone delivery, all 10 of them had to post publicly. Well, the FAA posted publicly what the drones would have to do in order to do those beyond visual line of sight operations, like the specs, safety specs, and things like that.
Yep.
And basically, the FAA stated that if they can meet those safety specs, drone operators can operate those drone models 1 to 20. So for every one drone pilot, there can be 20 drones flying and being monitored. So I thought that number was just massive.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Opportunity. That's all I hear from this conversation is opportunity for you and for a lot of people in the future. Um,
certainly.
Getting close to an hour. Um, is there anything that I did not ask that you were hoping I would have, or was there a topic not covered that you would like to address?
Um, so the integration pilot program, that's something that is going to push the forefront of drone innovation, or it already has. Uh, it was started in October of 2017. 150 cities, state, local, and tribal governments across the United States applied to be in this program, and only 10 were accepted. The point of this program, it was put in place by a presidential mandate, and the point is to expand drone operations to a point where they're affecting the economy through waivers that are through expedited waivers and things like that, enabling operations that wouldn't be possible anywhere place else inside of these fixed locations. So from October of 2017 through October of this year, 2020, they were really testing out what drones could do. Um, but they started an extension to that program in October called Beyond, and it's to test beyond visual line of sight operations. And we were just included in the Kansas program uh, to help test out those beyond visual line of sight operations. So we're really excited to be able to test that out, potentially with DJI drones, and start testing those beyond visual line of sight package delivery use cases. So that's one of the main things that's coming up for drones is this Beyond program, and that's going to happen over the next 3 years to indefinitely. Um, One more regulatory thing is NASA's UTM, or unmanned traffic management. That's been happening in parallel with this IPP program. They're getting very close to having a sky that is fully enabled for unmanned traffic. One of the last pieces is remote ID, and that's coming out in December. And so once that final piece of the puzzle gets put in, uh, drones are going to start you're going to start seeing a whole lot of drones flying around in the airspace.
Are we going to see more
So,
drones or birds in the sky?
um, well, hopefully the drones don't collide with the birds. So,
Right.
but
Yeah, well,
yeah, I mean
congrats on being accepted to you said that was the Beyond program, right?
yes, the new,
Yeah.
yeah, really excited about that, and thank you.
Um, that's probably something that you can put on your quote unquote resume, going forward, right? You're
Yeah,
working hand in hand with the FAA, developing one of their programs. And I think that will carry a lot of weight in the future when you're having those big higher level conversations with strategic partners, investors, or whatever. So congrats on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean it's really exciting that we got in there. That was something we've been trying to do for a long time, pretty much ever since we started, and trying to get into all 10 of those. But luckily, we got into Kansas, and they're really giving us a chance here. So we're gonna definitely take this opportunity.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to have you back on after the completion of that and see what that product or that program did and what you learned and what the FAA learned. Be the
For
subject
sure.
matter expert on that, and I'd be super interested to hear the results and the outcome of that program.
Definitely, let's do it. Yeah, I mean that's due to COVID, it's kind of restricted right now for travel and everything. But I have a feeling once this craziness is over, we'll be out there testing a lot, and I'll be happy to share any results we got. And yeah, like it's going to be exciting.
Is there anything that I can do, the listeners can do? Is there anything that you, Ian, or Zing needs, whether it's a potential strategic partner, a specific type of programmer, whatever? Is there anything that you're looking for right now that we can put out into cyberspace and um, maybe connect you with?
Yeah, I mean, if any of you are Part 107 pilots out there, I'd love to get you on our potential list of pilots. Like if you go to our website, zingdrones.com, we have a form you can fill out. Really right now we're going into the stage where we are raising a seed investment. Um, if you're interested, you can reach out to me. My email is ian@zingdrones.com. Now that we're in the Beyond program, we are making a lot of progress. We recently made a delivery to the top of a skyscraper in Miami.
I
If you
saw
want to
that.
check that out.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's on our YouTube channel. And you can also see our contactless delivery operation with all the different cities we're doing. If you want to follow us on Instagram, we're at ZingHQ. That's where we post most of our content. We're also on LinkedIn if you want to follow us there. But if there's any way you guys think we can partner up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn or at my email. And once again, it's ian@zingdrones.com. But yeah, we're going to start expanding the team soon. If you have any skills that you think would complement our drone delivery operations, please keep an eye on our careers sub link on our website. And we will be posting any of those opportunities on our LinkedIn if you want to follow us there. But other than that, we currently sell drone delivery kits. If you want to perform some deliveries in your neighborhood for Christmas season or something, a lot of people just do it to perform little fun deliveries around the neighborhood. But yeah, let me know if I can help out with anything as well. I'm always available. And if you have any drone delivery type of operations you want to see come to fruition, or you have any ideas, you can run them by me.
Awesome. You snuck a couple key words in there. I think they rhymed with seed investment. I would hate to end this podcast without at least bringing it up. Is it open? Are you looking for investors? Can you talk about what you're looking for in that?
Yeah,
Or do you
so
go ahead.
we've raised 25K so far. It's an open round. We let me see here. So we have raised a pre-seed round. We're thinking about raising this one as a seed round. If you want the details like our valuation cap or like our investment, any kind of other documents, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can send you that along with our last year's revenue and things like that. We are going to be raising our seed round, a portion of our seed round in these coming months. And the next portion, we're going to be getting venture capitalists involved, some who are very involved in the drone industry. And that's going to be coming in around June or July. But yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out if you want more information about potential investment. That is something that we are doing actively right now.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hopefully you get some people reach out to you for that too. Hopefully we got a bunch of rich airline pilots just waiting to get their portfolio into the emerging drone technology market.
Yeah, if you would like to diversify your portfolio a bit, Drone
Yep.
delivery is a great option.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time. It was awesome chatting with you, and I look forward to round 2 in the relatively near future.
Thanks, Tyler. I really appreciate it. It was fun. And yeah, looking forward to coming back next time. It'll be, I guarantee we'll be making a lot of progress.